All right, today we're going to be looking at more of box plots. We're going to be identifying different pieces of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and decide which one is wrong. So we're going to have 3 right, and there's going to be 1 that is wrong. Okay. So we have 2 different classes, class 1 and class 2. So the first one is class 1's data is skewed right. Okay. So what that means is that the tail, it needs to be longer on the right side. So if again, we look at the median, and is it longer on the right side? No, it's longer on the left. So this is the one that's actually wrong. But let's go through and talk about why the other ones are right. So class 2 data is symmetrical. So remember, symmetrical is we put our pen in the middle and we fold it in half and it matches, and this does match. The interquartile range for class 1 is less than the interquartile range for class 2. So remember, interquartile range, that's your box size. So is class 1 smaller than class 2? Yes, you can just look at it and see that this box is smaller than this box. If you want to do the math, you can. Quartile 1 and quartile 3 is 90 minus 75, which is 15. And then class 2 is 85 and 65. And then that would be 20. And then class 1 is smaller than class 2. Over 75% of the students in class 1 scored higher than a 70. So 75% is going to be, so this is broken down into your quartile. So quartile 1 would be 25%, quartile 2 is 50%, and then quartile 3 is your 75. So if I look at class 1, and 75% is over here, and that's 90. And that is true, because those are all higher than 90. Okay, so we're going to do the second half, which is down here for the same data. So quartile 1 is greater for class 1. So quartile 1 is the beginning of the box, so that's 75. And then quartile 2, or quartile 1 for class 2 is 65. And 75 is more than 65. Most of the students in class 1 scored lower than a 75. And if we look class 1 lower than a 75, that is false, because they scored 75 and higher. That just means there could be one student that scored a 30. Class 1's data is skewed left. That is true, because it's longer on the left side. The range for class 1, or the range is greater for class 1, and that is true. So remember, your range is from the beginning to the end. And that one you can definitely look at and see that the class 1 is way bigger than class 2. All right, so let's look at the next set. So again, we're identifying which one's right and which one is wrong. So there we have 3 right, and then 1 is going to be wrong. So 50% of the basketball players are at least 74 inches tall. So basketball is on top. Remember, 50% is going to be that median, and that is true. The interquartile range for baseball is less than the IQR of basketball. So remember, that's your box size. So again, you can definitely tell the box size for baseball is smaller than basketball. Again, just by looking, if you need to do the math, you can. Both sets of data are symmetrical. So again, that's where they look folding in half. So baseball players, that is true. But if we look at basketball, that is not true, because it's a lot bigger on the right side. So this last one's going to have to be right. The minimum height for baseball players is 3 inches less than the minimum height of basketball players. So baseball's minimum is 64. Basketball's minimum is 67. And that is 3 inches less. Okay, and then the last set, we're going to look at 25% of the baseball players are at least 74 inches tall. So we go to baseball, and 25% is going to be at the beginning of the box, and that is true, because that's more. That's all at 25, at least 74. So that is true. The median height for both baseball and basketball are the same. So the median's the box in the line in the middle, and that is false because they're at two different spots. Quartile 3 is greater for basketball players. That is true. There's your quartile 3, which is 78. Baseball is 74. And then the data for basketball is positively skewed right. So basketball, again, remember it's longer on the right side, and that is true. All right, so for those of you that are in class, you're now going to answer automate out 3 and 4 by yourself. And then the next video is going to be looking at dot plots.